I'm going to be going over, you've already heard. Some of these things you've already done, but it's kind of like taking those personality tests that you take all the time and what color you are, or if you're what letters you are, or what that is. Every time that you take them, it's a little bit different. There is a core piece of you, yes, but you change, you evolve. So do the kids, so does where you are, and so is what you do. So keep a couple things in mind while we go through this. One, how you discipline and how you guide is also a reflection of you and your past. So keep that in mind of what that is and do a little self-evaluation. And then do keep in mind your sights, which is why I wanted you guys to be broken down in this, your sights. Evaluate your sights. Think about your sight specifically. Think about specific children or a specific group of children while we're processing this. So please, this is very interactive in the sense of if at your site you have an example of a group or a person or a specific child while we're going through this, raise your hand and give it a shot. That's what we're here for, is how do we use these tools? How can we better what's going on out of the sites? Because we're definitely seeing when we go out to the site evals, a couple different opportunities, and we're trying to catch it and put things in place. But what we need to make sure is that all of you are on board on the same page. Because otherwise, kids get confused and or don't listen because they think it's different Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we need consistency of those expectations. How you use the words and what you do is you. What we follow through on is a team. So we need to make sure that you guys are all on a team and all on the same page. So that's why you're going to talk after this training and make sure that that's what's happening. Does that make sense? Okay, so ultimate goal. Self-evaluate yourself, and then how you can better help your team and your site. So when we leave here, you'll all have individual goals for how you handle individual discipline and how you work with your team to make sure that you're all universally disciplining the same way at your sites. Does that make sense? So those are the things that you're going to want to keep track of when you're going through this. When we're doing this and we're going through, you're going to be wanting to write down things over here. What I want to see over here besides your own notes is that self-evaluation process and tools. What you're trying to do right here is build your toolbox of when you're working on a discipline situation or you're trying to manage the large group in a different way. Ooh, I really need to work on this. Ooh, transitions are tough. So as I go through and I say, this is a good tool. Do you use the choices? Do you use this? That's something I can do. I want you to star and put those things over here on this part right here. Does that make sense? So then you can refer back to it when you guys are talking here or when you go to set those goals. So that's the hope. So if we're looking at this PowerPoint that we put together, and we talk about the objectives. Exploring your own background in section 1, we're introducing guiding children's behavior. The first goal is to evaluate yourself. So exploring your own background experiences, stress level influence the way you guide and discipline children. Very true. You guys are very, very stressed. The kids feed off of that. Understand your goal. Our goal in working before and after school care is teaching self-discipline and self-control, not obedience. Children being obedient is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is teaching children self-control and self-discipline. Not, I said sit, and then they sit. That's obedience. Teaching them self-control because we need to be a part of the group. What are we doing right now? That's self-control. Discussing advantages of child-centered versus adult-centered environment. And then reinforcing the relationship between growth and development and learning styles and behavior. That means basically while you have a large group of children and you're doing large group management, each one of these kids have different needs. Each one of these kids are at different levels. That doesn't mean that if so-and-so has a hard time sitting through virtue, they should be excused from virtue. No, virtue should be adapted for them. So that means that maybe they need to sit at a separate table as the group and with a staff helping facilitate virtue. Not excuse. Different expectations to still meet the goal. Everyone else can be self-controlled here in a large group. He needs a little bit more help, so he's over here, still doing the activity. Different expectations, not no expectations. There's never a lack of expectations. There's just achievable expectations for each child. Is your role to supervise and make sure that they're safe, or is it your role to help them teach that, kind of, what's your own belief system in that sense? What's your stress level typically when you're coming into the program and sliding in there after school, or running from it right to school? And then what's your openness to change? So take a look at that last page, or last slide on page 2, and kind of jot down some notes there and discuss in your group here for a little bit.
We're still like,
Oh. Hold on, let's see this one, otherwise.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Orange is the color for the day.
Orange is the new black.
Bullying. What else? Hot buttons. I'm sorry, as I refocus us all. Do you have it? Huh?
Being hit.
Hitting.
Alright.
Yeah.
When the kids aren't listening to another staff member.
When the kids are what?
Not listening to another staff member multiple times.
Like listening to only one person?
Yeah, so if like someone's trying to like facilitate virtue and like I'm doing parent table and I can hear the kids inside are just like running around and like not
Being
listening.
disrespectful?
Yeah. Then I can lose it.
And the red flags come on? Yeah. And what about you guys? Jake, yeah.
I had talking back. A lot of people, they don't respect the authority because I go to a few places, so they just kind of say, I'm gonna go ask other places. That sucks.
Yes, that does. What about you guys? St. James.
You kind of said making sure that everyone is being respectful.
So, disrespect. What else?
Negotiating with everything we tell them to do.
Negotiation.
And excessive tattling when it's like not involving the kid, that's tattling. That makes
Tattling.
sense.
Yes. My hot button is the consistent attention seeking. Like, and typically, it's boys and girls. So one time, and then the story's like 500 minutes long, but it's like the third story, so it's a little bit like, oh, that's great. What about you? What's your hot button? Chris? Yeah.
oh man. Well, I think when they won't, like, who was it said that, like when they only listen to one staff member but not the rest of the staff members, that gets on my nerves, because it's like, that staff member can hear everyone at once.
Do you have a hot button?
Deliberate disobedience. So if you see a kid doing the thing that you asked them to do yesterday and then you ask them to do it today and they're like, yeah, no, I don't feel like it. And then you're like, well, why don't you feel like it? I don't know. And then they like just walk away or do something else. That's like, you know, it's gonna like get you, stare you right in the face and do it.
Oh, I have one kid, I was like, you're being disrespectful, and the kid's just like, that's a your opinion.
Like when they like full on engage into like a cop, like it falls a little bit under negotiation though. When they like full on engage, like no, I didn't do that, but like I literally just watched you do that. Okay, hot buttons, need to control relationships, stress level. Why do you think we start out child guidance by kind of evaluating where you guys are at? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I'm very interactive, and I will pick on anyone, so be kind to your friends, yes.
So that you know like where you're coming from when you're guiding your child.
Right, exactly. If a kid hits one of your hot buttons, how do you think you're going to handle that discipline situation differently than you would a different situation? So I'm not saying that if the kid hits your hot button that you should pass off to your neighbor. I don't think you should do that. I think you need to, as an adult, take that big breath and be like, okay, fade away the hot button and focus on, you know, how big of a deal this is. So recognizing how you were disciplined, if you were disciplined in a more strict household, and a child is sitting and puts his foot up on the table, or the kid's eating yogurt without a spoon, or those different types of things that are just kind of like, what? So you need to like fade out a lot of that and focus on the main thing here. Do you understand what the expectations are here? And then kind of start over, instead of coming in full force. Does that make sense? Full force needs to be reserved much, much later. If you use full force right now and you skip all of your like smaller tools, they'll take you to this limit right here, and then what are you gonna do? That is where discipline is not a great place where you want to be, because if you jump automatically to the extreme, they will also jump to the extreme, and then you have nowhere else to go. So you want to make sure that you use all of these steps in between. So recognizing which things make you go because you're done. So making sure that you still start down here. So yes, that's exactly where we started there. So the second section on page 3, preventing and minimizing children's negative behaviors. The objectives are to explore and impact your actions and relationships with children that they have on their behavior. Discuss ways to create a caring community, including rule setting. Understand how the physical environment and program activities affect children's behavior. Improve your group management skills using new tools and best practices. So if we take the first one, exploring the impact your actions and relationships with the kids have on behavior. One of the things that I always try to talk about in my interviews or when I talk to people about different things is you have this massive group of kids. The only way, there are a couple of days that you can get away with controlling a large group of children with, nope, we gotta go over here. Nope, you gotta do this. Nope, this is what we're gonna do. After that, probably about 2 weeks in, you have to have a relationship with them. You have to build respect with them, and you have to know what's going on in here in order to control the mass. Because this blob only moves as a mass with just like a respect for so long. You only get like 2 weeks of given respect. After that, you have to either earn it or maintain it. Does that make sense? So you have to build those relationships with the kids. If you, after 2 weeks, don't know the children's names, that's going to be tough. You have to, if you know that about yourself, that you don't know, it's hard for you to learn names, then that first day that you're there, even if you're there only once a week, your job should be, during free choice time and stuff like that, Taryn, George, John, Bill, Susie, and then you just keep playing that game while they're taking attendance. Because just by knowing their name, you've already earned their respect many, many levels. And then I also talk a lot during what's my biggest pet peeve from the pajama pants. The reason why is pajama pants my biggest pet peeve? Does it make you look professional? Do you think it gets the kids to take you seriously? It's not just pajama pants. It's looking like you're I just slid in here and this is what I'm doing. And do you look invested? Like, do you think the kid, they know if you're listening, they know if you care, and they know if you're just making this your job. They have no respect for that. They respect the people that take the time to be there and be present and be prepared with them. So build those relationships. Those are like easy ways. That's before you even talk to them. How you present yourself, whether or not you know their name. Get them to know your name. When I come on site, that's one of the things I like to do. I'd be like, what's her name? Oh, no, you need to know her name too. That's building respect both ways.
Riker just
So
can't
get
learn
them to know. My
names.
name's so-and-so. My name's Autumn. I'm the director. I usually say I'm the principal of the YMCA. And then they're usually like, ooh, you're their boss? And I'm like, yeah. Sometimes they try to get you fired. Sometimes they want to get you a raise. It depends on, that's a good relationship. You know, which one do they want? So you want to kind of get to know them and build those relationships. Because once you get in there, so when you're out on the playgrounds and you're in the zones and you're pushing the swings, you get to know them. When you're out in the different zones before school from 6:30 to 7:30 and you're playing Monopoly, you're getting to know them. If there's a group of kids you don't know, that's where you want to put yourself because you want to build relationships with them. Because as soon as you have and it takes very minimal amount of time. It doesn't take that long. It takes 2 minutes to have that conversation. Hey, you have a good day today? Look them in the eye. Did you have a good day today? Great, thanks. Have a good day. They know you know that they're there. They know who you are. Boom, done. Now, you're the leader and you're in charge. When you say it's time to line up, okay, listen to me when you need to take name roster check. Please don't make me stand here much longer so we can get going through this name roster check. So then you kind of build those relationships. Does that make sense why that's important? Is there any, so if this is something that you like, oh, maybe I need to start doing that out at this site, this is where you want to put that down on here as a tool. Just a helpful reminder. Rule setting. All of your sites should, maybe after this meeting, on one of your fold-out boards is the schedule, and then there should be the rules for your site next to it. You need to utilize that. You need to have that teacher persona. Like I was talking about your dress being kind of like a teacher persona. You need to have that mentor teacher persona and utilize that. Someone's like, what are we doing next? Or you're sitting down and you're eating snack with the kids because you should be able to eat snack with the kids unless you're the one that's checking to make sure that they're all there. So you're eating snack. And you're talking to them, and you see Susie get up, and you're like, nope, what time is snack time done? Oh, 4:10. Sit back down, let's talk about what did you do this today? What did you do this weekend? You're building relationships. You're also in control in the sense of referring to them being able to see what time the things are going to be at. And then if they can't keep their hands themselves or don't use their silverware, we need to be respectful. Remember rule number 2. What is it? Be respectful. Utilize those rules and guidelines. They don't necessarily know. Before you go outside, if you continuously have this problem where they go outside of the boundaries, before you release the hounds to go outside on the playground, go over the rules for the playground. Then you can be like, what were the rules for the playground? Oh, yeah, you do know what those are. Remember, they're right here. So go over it with them and talk to them. Don't assume they know what's going on. And then understand how physical environment and program activities affect the children's behavior. This is one of the things that I'm going to ask you guys to do when you break out is going through your environment. We consciously choose to set up the environment this way. Over here is the quiet area, away from the physical activity zone, away from the dramatic play zone. Gets a little bit quieter over to the arts and crafts zone and the writing zone. We chose to set it up that way. We try, if we need to, we'll close this runway down and move these tables over if the kids book it back there all the time. Choose and figure out. You guys have rugs, you guys have tables, you guys have other things going on at your site that you can use to kill runways and areas that are a problem. So think about your environment to prevent some things before they even happen. If your kids consistently like to play in the construction zone and constantly get into fights over specific things, make 2 construction zones. Does that make sense? If the kids consistently get into an argument over one swing at the playground, then have one group go to use the swings for a certain amount of time and then switch the group out and then have them come back in. Instead of constantly being like, why can't you just share? Too many kids, one piece of equipment, rotate it, boom, done. It's not a discipline problem, it's an environmental problem. Does that make sense? Improve your group management skills using new tools and best practices, which is what we're doing. Yay. Is there any examples off of that you guys have at your sites that you think could be, like, so star there or write something down, if you can think of that? Yes?
So we have these tables that the kids go to the end of them, and when they push down on them, the middle like pops up, and we can't really help it.
Have you talked to the maintenance people to see if you can lock up?
No, they, yeah, they can switch them up during the day.
I know, but I think that there's a lot. Talk to the maintenance first. Let's see if there's like an obvious solution first, and if it's not that, and that's something that they want to do, then if it's all of them, then we need to have like a little powwow with the kids and all that. Because I can guarantee you, the tables and the custodians at the tables, it's a big deal. Like there's trainings on how to move these tables because because they're a risk of injury to the adults and the children. So a lot of the time, we're not allowed to even touch them, so find out if they lock first, and then let's go from there. Because sometimes, because when they've done this in the past, we're like, oh, we got this one instead, and then we have to talk to the custodian, and then it's like, well, so it's kind of weird big deal than what you think. So let's find out about that first. Okay, let's move on to section 3, which is intervening when children need guidance. So we talked about evaluating ourselves, we talked about evaluating our environment, and making sure that we have our rules and that the kids are all on the same page. That is all of the things that we should make sure are in place, because sometimes those are the reasons why our kids misbehave. So then now comes the actual misbehavior, correct? So that's something that I want you guys to think about to see if we can kind of diminish some of this behavior before we even get into having to do minors and majors and whatnot. So when children need guidance, children's view of inappropriate behavior as a learning and teaching opportunity. These are teachable moments. So please recognize that that's what they are. That's how the red flags are created. Teachable moments, not discipline, let's get them in trouble, holy cow. Develop a continuum of intervention options. You learn how to use the red flags and discuss appropriate and inappropriate use of the timeout. Okay, so viewing children's inappropriate behavior from learning and teaching opportunity. Well, the last time I was out at Mans, I got the opportunity to work with a couple kids during Virtue, and they had the tactile balls before we even got our independent play zones, and one kid was rolling the ball back and forth and kind of throwing it in the air. So then, like, hold on to the ball, because that's not what they're for. And he's like, yeah, I'm allowed to have it, and continues to throw it up. I'm like, no, you need to hold on to the ball. Nope, I'm allowed to have it. It helps me focus during Virtue. Does it? Does it help you during Virtue to focus when you're throwing it in the air? Nope, the purpose of it. So then we talked about, holding on to the ball, making sure it said, and then if you aren't able to help, then it doesn't look like it's helping you focus. If it doesn't help you focus, then we're going to have to put it away. Could I have just taken the ball away from him? And it would have been rightfully so, because he was not using it the way it was intended, and he probably very well knew it. But what was the goal? The goal is to teach him how to use those things appropriately. Otherwise, some of us feel, like, oh, none of that's going to work. It's not going to work. They're just going to use it as a ball. They're just going to wreck it. They're just going to lose the pieces. If we don't teach them and reinforce, yes, they will. If you lay out the expectation of that's what's going to happen, and if you just walk up to them and take the ball away and be like, see, I told you, that's all you were going to do. Shock. They live up to those expectations. That's what happens. You need to teach them how to use those things. You need to teach and reinforce them to make sure that they use them appropriately. So as soon as I explain to him, that's to help you focus. What's the purpose of it? To help you focus. So if you're throwing it up in the air, are you focusing on what's being said, or are you focusing on the ball? Focusing on the ball. Okay, then you need to sit here and hold it. He held it for the rest of the time. Not necessarily participating in Virtue, but he still had baby steps, and that's what you want to kind of work through. So then they hold it. And then that also got the rest of the group, which is the other big thing that everyone feeds into is, well, if we do it for one, then everyone's going to want one. Because there were other kids who be like, I want one, I want one. If you want to hold it, because that's the purpose of it, great, here you go. Wait, I can't throw it back and forth to him? No, it's to hold and to help you focus. Boom, it ends up in the middle of the table. The people that need it will utilize it. The people that don't, if they don't like to just hold the ball, they like to throw it. So then they won't utilize it. Again, teaching and reinforcing. Does that make sense? So making sure that you give out what the purpose is. The purpose of those are to teach them something. That guidance is an example of teaching them something. So give me an example of a most recent discipline situation that happened out at your site. Oh, look, you guys had no problems this week. That's awesome. There's no reason for this. Yes.
We had the we call the spin on me. So I remember around this, there's very specific rules on how they're supposed to sit when they use it, who can hang where, whatever. And then I saw some children not using it properly, so I went over and said, please remember the rules, make sure you're following it. I'll keep an eye on you, I'll give you one last warning. And then after that, they were using it the way they're supposed to. They didn't have to shut it down or take anyone off it or anything like that.
Exactly. Goal, you could have very well been like, boom, out. They knew. They knew what was going on. But if you take the steps to explain, re-explain, and understand, self-control. It's teaching them self-control. Now they understand that. But you need to understand that now they think Nick will. Do they know that the rest of you guys will? So you guys, that's the team part of it. They won't do it for you now, but they may for the rest of you. You all have to, as a team, follow through with that. Does that make sense?
I said, I didn't get a call, so it's not the lie.
Do you guys have another example? Sam, Davey, were you guys perfect this week?
Usually.
Yeah.
The one I can think of is, like I said before, kind of getting my red button where I just kind of lose it is not listening. So one of the staff was bringing some kids to the bathroom, so there was one staff trying to lead Virtue where I was parent table, and I could tell that the other staff was struggling trying to get the kids to sit down and like pay attention to the discussion. So I heard her say sit down probably 4 or 5 times, and the kids were still just kind of like, the kids knew.
For the children. You do not write your information, you write the children's information. Where are red flags kept? In the accordion folder. We also track red flags. I think some people are starting to get on board or haven't been doing that, but we need to track the red flags. Red flags in the accordion folder, there's a section of unfilled and there's a section of filled out. In the filled out is a tracking form. Date, child's name, reason for it. So, you want to be the naughty kid? Sure. So you're getting a red flag. You've already gotten your warning. I've talked to you a couple different times today. You need to listen during Virtue. You're not keeping your hands to yourself. That's your 3rd warning. So we're going to fill out a red flag. While I am talking to you about it, and this is where a timeout comes in. This is when I'm going to say to you, you need to take 5 minutes and think about why we're filling out this red flag so you can fill it out accurately. That's when I'm going to go walk over and kind of think about what I want to talk to her about. And then I'm writing on that tracking form that she got a red flag. Immediately, or if you're in the line right now, and you're like, that is your 3rd warning, when we get outside, we're going to do a red flag. And then if they don't choose to change their behavior at that point, then it's another discipline situation and your team needs to take over the rest of the group, and then this is now moved into a more serious situation. Does that make sense? So then you do the red flag and you fill it out and you do the tracking. Who gives the red flags of information to the parent?
Kid.
The child. But you need to guide that situation. So your mom comes in and I'm like, oh, you have something that you need to talk space with mom. Now, do we do this in front of a whole other set of parents that are here to pick up and all the other kids? No. You need to pull this child aside because as a parent, if you talk about something my kid's wrong in front of other kids and other parents, boom, you're already matching me up 1 level. And then I'm anticipating what the situation is and I'm rising as you're talking and you're not talking fast enough. That's why I have you guys say to me when I answer the phone during business hours, everything's fine, Autumn, but, because I'm already like, oh, what's going on? So parents do the same thing. So then you're going to want to take them to the side and be like, you can soft sell and be like, we have a little situation, she wants to explain it. So then you have to explain it. Are you going to be like, you want to facilitate this conversation? Parent communication is facilitating the conversation, coming in. You and the parent should be parallel. They did make a poor decision, but I think the goal was really good. What was your goal? And then they say the goal. And then you look at the parent and you say, do you kind of agree? Do you think, awesome. If you could talk to them when they get home about it, just to make sure we ice that cake, let us know. That'd be great. That's parent communication. That's when the kids know that you're gonna follow through with stuff and listen to you. That's when you don't need a dad voice because you already earned the rest of it. You know, the goal is to not need the dad voice. The goal is to get them to listen without the dad voice. Or someone to take over the dad voice. So that's what the red flags are for.
It's kind of fun sometimes.
I know, but you really want to utilize the dad voice for scary situations. When like they're across the parking lot and something and you're like, what are you doing? And then they're like, what? But if they're used to hearing the dad voice, in one ear, out the other. So, when filling out the red flags, here's another thing. I was talking about that ball thing, and we were talking about the end goal is not to just be like, get him to be compliant. The end goal is to get him to understand and utilize the ball for what it's intended for. So what's the end goal of the behavior? If she can't keep her hands to herself in the line and we're constantly always talking to her, the goal is self-control and keep your hands to yourself. Is it the one child? Is it, and that's what you want to talk to her about. Why can't, what can we do? Because do you see how this is kind of affecting a lot of different things? We don't want to keep doing this. Find the end goal. The end goal is not the red flag. Don't stop at the red flag. The end goal is something to actually be changed so you never ever have to have that conversation again. So make sure that that is what is going on. Teaching self-control. Choose to respond, not react. Take the issue with the behavior, not the child. We have some kids that kind of hit hot buttons. We have favorites and we have least favorites, but no one should know what they are. So make sure that it's not the child that you have an issue with, it's the specific behavior that you're working on. And then focus on that specific skills. So here are some strategies. Group review of the rules, opportunity to correct before the problem, so that's where your warnings come in. Redirection, using the look or the dad voice. I have a look. The 1, 2, 3 red flag, and then taking a break. They can take a break. You can be like, do you want to take a break? You look like you're like, I'm out. So taking a break isn't a bad thing, and that's what you want to teach the kids to. Overall goal. Positive reinforcement afterwards is also very important. Is there anything on red flags or behaviors that tend to go to red flags that I didn't hit? Is there kids that hit red flag realm all the time that I haven't like offered a suggestion to that you guys don't have a tool for your toolbox on? Okay, observations should be awesome this week, ladies. Okay, working with more challenging behaviors. Identifying kids that exhibit more challenging behaviors in the process, why that might be. Learning tips on effective in working with all the kids, but specifically those requiring extra attention. Learn what to look for when you observe the kids, how to develop a plan, and how to work with those parents. Become familiar with ways to respond to the spirited child, the angry child, the child with ADD, or the autistic child. We also have many other children with other diagnoses. Become more confident with your ability to work with children who exhibit challenging behaviors. So, these are the students that kind of get the purple slips or the behaviors, the routine behaviors due to a diagnosis or something outside of their control. Or we're trying to teach them to control and behaviors that can come from that. All of the sites have students that exhibit something that takes a little bit more. These are not, no child, no person, no staff member can be taught to, trained, and taught how to do this job the same way. No child can be taught, learn, and be educated the same way. So that's what we're here for. Your job is to work with these situations, convey what's going on in the purpose of the data, and get our resources and help. Get our help at that point. So what this training is recognizing for you guys that you need to fill out the purple slips and the information and give us the information and data that we can to help you, help them. We are finding that sometimes some of you do not fill out the purple slips and aren't filling out the paperwork for that, and then it's not engaging us into what's going on. And then we come out there a little bit too late. So I have a couple questions, and it's not all of you, and that's the problem. So like I can't, so I need to know a couple different things. Why we don't want to fill out and why purple slips are a challenge to fill out in that sense. Like, is there questions as to it, or is it something like, I feel like I can answer the question, but I don't know what it is. So I can explain to you why we do them, how we do them, what the purpose of them are, but why aren't they happening is my question. Or are you like, it's happening, but why aren't you guys coming out? Where's the, okay, yes.
I feel like it's hard when you fill out the purple slip because it's not like we can have a consequence for the behavior. So let's say like a kid punches another kid, it's like they fill out the purple sheet and that's it. So it's like there really doesn't seem like there's anything like that trust thing, like we're gonna follow through with our word because then we're uninvolved from that point. It's like you have them take a break and then you're done.
Okay. So what are you looking for in the sense of you want more of a consequence, you're thinking, or?
Yeah, I like don't know how to go about like how you discipline them past that point, or like how do you like make sure that it doesn't happen again? Because sometimes just having them take that little break like doesn't work. You know, like they'll do it again
Right.
the next same day. So that part's kind of difficult.
Okay. Anyone else along those same lines? Yeah.
I feel like how you said like they'll do it again. I feel like I could be handing out like purple slips every single day, like for some kids, and they literally don't stop. They keep doing it, like hitting every single day. Even after you give them a red flag, the next day they'll be in line hitting the same kid again. It's just like I don't know.
Purple slip, that's why.
But it's like I could be handing them.
You do that, that's
purple slips
exactly.
in 1 week.
Perfect. That's when we come out. That's what we're looking for. Because red flag you don't know about. So then we can't help you. So then now you're frustrated because you could be handing them out and they just keep doing it again, but we don't know. So we need to know in order to come out because these kids are different. All of these kids are different. So we need that information. I need to know when they hit, who they hit, why they hit in those conversations so then we can pull that string. Do you know what I'm saying? Fill out 10 in 1 week. Because that engages the parents and that engages them. Even if the parents get mad, that's fine. We are equipped to handle the mad parents. As long as you're professional and respectful. Yes?
That's kind of what I was going to say, is in the past, I just had parents get really sick of it. And they're like, well, you need to change something because obviously their behavior's not changing. And just...
Well, that's the purpose of the
kids like, do things day after day after day, that should be getting a red flag every day, then having that same conversation with the parent over and over and over, it's just not the same.
Exactly. Okay, so let me explain how purple slips work. Anytime a child hits, now let me explain hit. If we're standing in line, oh, you poor girl for sitting right here. If we're standing in line and we're just kind of like, and if I do this to her, that's not a hit. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, if I push her, yes. If I'm in her face, yes. But like the normal like pushing, shoving that happens, and you have to be logical about it. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Also to add to I'm trying to learn, when she said any like additional consequences, and we had a little tip between a couple boys, and I checked in with this boy's teacher in the morning sometimes, and I mentioned to her that he had gotten his bike, and she's like, well, what was his consequence? What did he do? And it was just a verbal slip, and
Needing more consequences.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
We have like at night we have like 3 workers every day. And we have a lot of kids. So I feel like one of our issues is we'll be handling something else, but someone will like come tattle on someone else, but we didn't see it. So then who do we believe when a kid says, no, we didn't do that? Or like we didn't see it, so we can't do something about it.
Yes. Hold on, remind me to come back to that. Yes.
Okay, so there's these 2 brothers that are like constantly constantly roughhousing, like literally they cannot stop touching each other and like hitting each other and shoving each other. So do you like purple slip them both? And I'm like, don't sit by each other line. You're not gonna sit by each other at snack. But it's like they are constantly doing it. So do you purple slip them both? But they're like siblings. So like.
Yep, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Okay.
Their parent is gonna be super mad. But we can't have kids hitting each other. We can't. Okay, so here we go. Are you ready? Now, some of this, and I feel like some of that may diminish with some of the other things that we talked about.
Yeah.
If you can, like, you'll be able to pull a couple of these, like some of your other students, a good chunk of them, at your site with some of the changes that you've been making, will pull. Amy.
Do you have your phone so I can continue?
That's how we know what's going on. So you need to engage us, you need to talk to us so we can come out and help. So then my thought process on all of these kids are, we need data in order to help you solve that. We can help you. So we've dealt with siblings numerous times before. We do it all the time. So we can come out and observe and solve those solutions. All of the purple slips do not have to equal removal from the program. So it's the way to engage the parents to get them to understand what's going on. So I need you to understand that that's the purpose of it. So please don't not fill out the paperwork because you don't want to upset the parents. That's our way of talking to the parents and saying, listen, that's our way of explaining that this is something serious and ultimately we have to have something in order to get you and us all on the same page moving in the same direction. So we need to follow through and we need to have those on there. If you need to fill out 10, then that's a way of getting the parents to understand this is how much your kid hits in our program. No, it's not like boom, full out fighting, but it's enough that this is how many times we've had to talk to him about hitting. So she needs to see that data, we need to see that data. You need to engage us to come out about those specific things. Sometimes we see you guys kind of like how this all started and they're like, oh, everything's fine. Well, then we think everything is fine. If parents don't see those purple slips, they think everything is fine. If they're like, kind of a rough day today, yeah, okay, like, yeah, that's okay, you need to, in order to engage the parents and engage us, you need to tell us what's going on. So purple slip, fill it out objectively, give us the data, give us the information, who, what, where, why, what did they say, why did they do it, so that we can find the source. Usually with siblings, it's some sort of competition. It's some sort of, they just like to button push each other. So then, then we need to split them up and engage them into different things. Your identity, child A, is not to aggravate child B. Child B, you're not supposed to defend yourself from child A. That's not who you are. Who are you? So then we teach them to understand and be that way. Lay out the expectations. So we need to figure out what those core are, and in order to do that, we have to have that data. And if you don't fill out that information, we can't have that data and we can't help you. And then parents do not engage at red flags level. They don't. And that's because red flag level is supposed to be minors. So you can't be upset that they're not engaged because it's supposed to be a minor. That's why you have to have that do the purple slips, and that's why you have to do those. Consequences. Consequences should come out of the conversation. So if a child hits another child, why? Why did he hit him? In that situation, why did they hit the child?
We get upset, like, we did talk it through and like I was able to find like what the issue was. With this situation, like a kid threw a punch at another kid, it's like complicated because there's like this whole
exactly, and that's why there's no like, if a child hits, you give them this consequence. It is a big, so sometimes if it's that kid that's been pushed a whole bunch of different times in the line and finally just turned around and just hauled off and hit him. Part of me is like, yeah, kudos to you for making it that far, so the consequence sometimes is this purple slip, and then you need to say to the parents, we talked it out, this is why, this is what he's going to do differently, and maybe you need to have a consequence in the sense of you know, he needs to not, you know, say, do so many jobs around the Y. Maybe the consequence comes at home. A good majority of the time, these purple slip consequences happen at home. And the school can't look at you any differently because minors and majors from school is a suspension. They certainly don't keep them in from recess because that means that the teacher can't prep and stuff like that. So they're not following through with any consequences either. It goes home. So we're following through with that same consequence, yes.
Yeah, and just something, maybe other people are going through the same thing or not, but just when kids, sometimes they'll act out and they'll resort to the physical violence because they don't feel like the teachers are actually coming up with like a way to separate because they're bothering them or like they're not being heard. And that's something that I didn't think about before. It's just like, oh, like I'm not doing my job correctly, so they don't think they can talk to me. So they take it into their own hands.
Exactly. They do. They will. They will be pushed to that if they think that they're at that level. That's why you're a team. Even though there's only 3 of you, you should hopefully, if you're all on the same team and doing different things, the kids have that trust in you, so then they'll know if you're taking attendance and you two are doing snack, then they know to talk to you, or you have assigned seating and they trust that that's where you should be because that's the best for you. Do you know what I'm saying? Ratio, even at all of the sites, is lower than licensing ratio. We are at Y ratio at most of the sites. And some of the sites we're even lower than that. It's just we have to be a team and we have to be united in what's going on at your sites. And then be able to handle the one-on-ones. And then if we are getting a lot of purple slips from a specific site, then that means you maybe have a lot of one-on-one needs, and then we can engage in getting another site staff in order to handle some of the one-on-one needs. And sometimes that's us. We have come out to your sites a lot more in order to help you guys with some of the one-on-one needs. Because we secretly like it a lot. That's our cup of tea. So purple slips, did that help? In that sense, you kind of understand it. The only thing I expect out of you guys is to follow through with the purple slips and follow through with the situation. Talk to them and figure out the situations. Gather us that's what the data is. Give us that information. Yes?
I was about to say, and especially when it's the kids' first time getting purple slip, making sure that you're explaining to the parents what this could end up being. Because a lot of parents don't even know what the purple slip means or what it entails if they get enough of them. So I guess just getting that buy-in is including like the consequences for their child. Because sometimes I've had a couple parents like, oh, it's like a red slip, right? And I'm like, no, it's a little bit different. So yeah, I don't know what kind of instruction they get when they sign up for the program.
A lot of parents don't read our parent manual and they don't do different types of things. So if that's something as a site that you decide that you guys want to put together a newsletter, so introducing, you know, our behavior plan, reminder that it's going to be winter pretty soon and we still go outside and all these other things that you can kind of put together a newsletter, and then that might not be a bad idea to do that, just because sometimes when you have to do that off of a purple slip, the parents are like, wait, what? It's like, no, this was always our policy and procedure. I'm just making sure that you understand that we need to follow through with it and this is why. But it's a lot easier to sell that when it's not on giving a purple slip at the same time. Okay, so making sure that you're following through with all that information. Sometimes you guys call us, which is fine in that sense, but when you call us, I'm going to ask for that data and that information. So make sure that you're talking to the kid about why did they hit, who did they hit, when did they hit it, what hit them, and you know what I'm saying? Why did they run from the program? Why did they shut down on you? I want to know why. And then please be careful, because a lot of our students have done it repeatedly, but sometimes that 3rd or 4th time, you'll find out why. So you have to keep asking. You have to keep digging into the reason why. Don't assume the reason why. Because later when you find out the reason why, you're not going to feel so great about yourself. Yeah, okay. So, challenging behaviors, there's a lot of different information. I feel like the actual situations, you guys do a pretty good job of handling, calming them down and those types of things, and handling the actual purple slip situation, correct? And right, okay. We talked about the purple incident forms. So here's the situation about actual removal from the program. So I always try to, all of you guys have different feelings about purple slips, so that's why I feel like I may come across wishy-washy, but it's not what I'm doing. I'm really trying to make sure that some of you guys are like, you're too hard with them. Some of them are like, you don't do enough with us. And then some, so let me explain the whole process. After we see one, if it's a severe situation, we'll touch base with you, or you can call us and talk to us about it as it happened. 2 is when you usually try to engage with you guys and find out a little bit more about the situation and see if we should touch base with the parents. We'll usually talk to you and say like, do you want us to talk to the parents, or I want you to talk to the parents? So then at least there's some sort of form of communication at that point, moving forward with creating a behavior plan at that point. These are 2 distinct weird situations. I think we'll be fine. We talked about it. Actually, this time of the day is really hard. We're going to do a check-in and out system. Because at 2, we want to try to see something in order to see, we've created a baseline. Now we want to decrease it, and this is what we're doing to try to decrease it. And then we can go from there as to whether or not it happens again, if it increases, or hopefully it decreases, pulling a lot of other behaviors with it. That's the ultimate goal with how it's supposed to go. 1, 2 behavior plan, and then they probably will get a 3rd. No person, not just child, person can create corrective behavior without making a mistake. At the 3rd, the child could be suspended from the program if we think it's beneficial. Or if it was a situation that you're like, yeah, we have to suspend. They literally hauled off and punched them. Yes. If they literally ran from the program and almost got hit by a car. Yeah, suspended from the program. But if it's just another poor choice and they ended up having to be suspended from the, or could have been suspended, we don't have to. We can be like, oh, you made it 2 weeks. That was great, we're gonna reward you, we're not gonna suspend, but if it happens a 4th time, we are going to follow through and suspend, you understand? Yes?
I just have a question regarding one situation that happened in ours. So we have one student that has ADHD, and I've talked to the principal and his homeroom teacher in the special ed department, and they also think he might have an EBD. And one of the days he had a rough day in school, he got into a fight at recess, and he got kicked off like their safety patrol, so he's kind of having a rough day. And he ran off, but Sam Davies fenced in. So we went to the section so we could still see where he was, but one of the staff came and told me, so I just came outside and went by him, so I was filling out some paperwork inside at that point. So I went over and just kind of talked to him about it, and he was just having a rough day. So would that be a purple slip?
Still, yes, a purple slip, but doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3. It just needs a purple slip that we have documented, that we know that this is what happened one day. Because purple slips more than anything is data to us. We need to know that on this day he had a rough day for this reason, on this day he had a rough day, on this day, so then we can add it all together in order to make these plans for the kids to be successful. You're not giving us the data, we can't make them successful. So it doesn't have to equal, in all reality that had nothing to do with us really. He didn't do anything except for separating himself with the group, sounds like even before the program and whatnot, so we're just meeting him where he's at. So yes, purple slip, but doesn't have to count towards the suspension or removal from the program. Yes?
Same child. Sometimes if you threaten or like you say he's getting a purple slip, he'll lose his mind, and then that forces him to do another thing, like run from the building.
Purple
or
slips do not
attack you.
red flags are filled out by the child. Purple slips do not have to be filled out by the child.
Does he have to know that we're giving it?
Handle that meltdown, handle that behavior system or whatever, document it yourself later and explain to the parent. You do not have to fill that out with the child.
So the child doesn't have to know he's getting one that day.
In my opinion, in the sense of a relationship building, to not telling the child is a poor choice. But choosing the time that you have that conversation, even if it's that parent is, coming over and then you touch base with the child and you say, hey, we need to touch base about what happened today, you're talking to the mom and those types of things. And then you could be like, and then explain to the child, did you run from the program? What does that mean? And those types of things. I wouldn't hide it though. That feels like lying. And we don't. So that will break trust right away. You will get nowhere at that point. But if it's going to diminish and keep the kid in fight or flight, your goal in working with kids that go out of that is to get them out of fight or flight. So if you say purple slip, boom, done. that's not gonna help. But you need to follow through and give the information to the parents and make sure that they understand.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the way like I said, and I repeatedly will say it, purple slips are data, purple slips are information, they're also the core part of our policies and procedures, but we can utilize them to be beneficial to change children's behavior. There are going to be extremes where kids could be ultimately removed from a program immediately based on the situation. A child brings a weapon into our program, boom, done. If a child does severely hurt another child, immediate suspension. But there are also some play with what we do with 1, 2, 3 because ultimately we want kids to be successful. But there are times kids cannot be successful in our program. It's hard, it's a difficult process, and it sucks. But you need to understand that we are going to do everything that we possibly can to keep children and have them be successful in our program, but we also need to make sure everyone, including you, are safe in our program. So typically, if we end up removing children from the program, it's because the child behavior, meaning they threaten or are a danger to themselves or others, leaves the program without permission, continues to disrupt the program, and acting in a lewd or obscene manner. We have removed children from the program and repeatedly do that. The parents' behavior, not ready to hear what you have to say. If we cannot parallel and come in with the parent and have them be on our team with us, it's not going to work out because kids will not change their behavior if the parents aren't on board with us. Staff conditions, if you're exhausted your resources and you haven't been effective, meaning you've done everything that you can logically within our policies and procedures and it's not working. And program impact, if the presence of that child in the program we have to make unreasonable accommodations, something that's not helpful, and then staying isn't in the best interest of the program, then they've been removed from the program. But you need to understand that we will try to be as obvious as possible, but you also need to understand that when you come to us about a child specifically many times and you say things like, the other kids are feeling unsafe, we feel like the program is being only focused on the single child and the rest of the kids aren't getting the program that they deserve. These are things, we take that to heart and say, you have exhausted these resources and you're at your end of your rope. And the suggestions that we've had haven't been working. So if you say things like that to us, we will remove a child from the program because you've done everything you can. But we've been in a situation where then the staff are shocked because we've removed children from the program. Well, you need to tell us the good things that are happening then too. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to explain to us, like, sometimes we just need a vent. And sometimes this is really what's happening. So you have to give us both. Do you know what I'm saying? So be conscientious because we don't do it lightly. But if you guys come to us and are at your wit's end, we're going to support you. But don't be surprised when we support you to the point of this isn't going to work out. Does that make sense? So be clear. And we will be clear too. Clearer. Okay, so that concludes the training. Now, what I would like you guys to do is, you can shut that off, is